Post-journalism. The press lost its monopoly on news when the internet democratized info. To save its business model, it pivoted from journalism into tribalism. The new role of the press is not to inform its readers, but to confirm what they already believe. Post-journalism.
Yeah. So there was a study published in the Social Science Computer Review. And basically what it was is a team of researchers analysed 27 million news articles published between 1970 and 2019. And what they found was that use of words like sexist and racist in the New York Times and in the wider liberal media increased over 400% since 2012. So obviously sexism and racism have not actually increased 400% since 2012. It's only the media's use of these terms that's increased. And this, they found this was the case anyway. They found that essentially what happened was that there was some event that had occurred that had caused a massive shift in the editorial policy of the New York Times towards sex and race. And I mean, this was actually, I think, who was it? There was a writer who dubbed this the Great Awakening. Although he didn't refer to this specific example, but he referred to a general trend that occurred with the rise of social media in the early 2010s, where there was this sudden shift towards issues of sex and race. And this was driven by the media, I think. I think this was driven by the fact that the New York Times was no longer the sole one of the sole authorities of news anymore, with the sort of advent of social media and all this alternative media that sprang up, and stuff like the Joe Rogan podcast and all these alternative sources of information. The New York Times had suddenly lost its authority. It no longer had a monopoly on information. And so obviously they had to do something. And I believe, I don't have any hard evidence of it, but I think that this is what led to this surge in usage of terms like sexism, racism, and the rise of the sort of, woke politics in media. Because I feel that it decided that it was going to cater to hipsters, basically, to certain sort of, I don't want to stereotype them too much, but the kinds of people who hang out in Starbucks and, drinks sort of pumpkin spice latte and all that, they wanted to sort of, they thought these guys got a bit of money.
Crowd will be coming for you hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I've tried it. They're actually quite nice. I've drank a few myself.
You were a hipster. I always knew you were.
Yeah, I did it before everybody else.
That's the most hipster thing that you could say. That doesn't defend you from being a hipster. Yeah. Okay. So what you're saying is that the New York Times, they need to re-engineer news from being something which accurately portrays what's going on to competing for clicks up against people who are significantly better at getting clicks. What it seems like, if racism and sexism have increased by 400% since 2012 in New York Times and the liberal media, it seems like racism and sexism have been split tested as the most limbically hijacking, perfectly curated, tempting way to get people to press on a news article.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the interesting thing with these terms is that they don't just get the audience they don't just get the liberal audience engaged. They also get conservative audience engaged, because the conservative sort of media ecosystem is largely reactive, which fits in with their reactionary ideology. So they react to the liberal politics of the day, to the liberal mainstream media. And so when the New York Times says that air conditioning is racist or whatever, then Fox News is going to come out, Tucker Carlson is going to go on and he's going to say, look at this madness in the New York Times, the world's going to hell. The New York Times now is claiming that air conditioning is racist. And the New York Times obviously knows that Tucker Carlson is going to do this. And that's why they do it, because they know that they can provoke him. So then Tucker gets his audience of conservatives to essentially just take part in this dialogue, to take part in this sort of debate. And that drives more traffic to the New York Times. When people share it, like, look at this craziness, on social media. What they're doing the New York Times' own work for them. They're just sharing it. Even it doesn't matter if people don't like the New York Times' article, it's still getting shared. And that's what matters at the end of the day. People are clicking on it so that they can hate it. And I think, that's really the sort of the liberal media's business model and the conservative media's business model. The liberal media will randomly accuse things of being sexist or racist, knowing that it's going to fire a lot of people. Then the right-wing media, the conservative media, will sort of react just as predicted, and it will just create. It's like a sort of symbiosis where they sort of fuel each other. They fuel each other's traffic, and I mean, you do see it happening the other way now as well. You see, Tucker Carlson or whatever will make a claim which is absolutely crazy on Fox News, and then the New York Times will write an opinion piece about him and how he's a danger to everyone, and he's going to create the Third Reich or whatever. The Fourth Reich. But it's a back and forth between them. They have this sort of tribal warfare thing going on, and they both monetized it. They both profit from it, and everybody else loses because everybody else becomes more stupid as a result. And that's basically the media ecosystem now, I think. The mainstream media ecosystem.
There's a really good quote from Dana White, and this is from 3 years ago now. And he says, the media are not in the news business. They are in the clickbait business. They think negativity sells and gets clicks. So that's what they deliver. Negativity is their product. And what he's touching on there is the fact that people are more likely to click on sensationalist negative stories than they are. I mean, dude, we see this even when it comes to designing thumbnails for the channel. If I use a term like war or battle, go to war with your mind, you must battle for self-improvement, stuff like that. Even though they're being used in a positive manner, it's still an inflammatory word, and it gets more clicks. People see that war, that word, they see the word war, and they go, "Oh, war!" You're gonna click on it, even if it is a war for more fucking hypertrophy. Or what's happening, people? If you enjoyed that, then press here for the full unedited episode, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace.